I'm the judge for a case. Let me explain the case a little bit so that you can know what actually the case is. And I have the plaintiff's lawyer and the defendant's lawyer here. In 2010, Melissa Nelson, a 33-year-old dental assistant from Fort Dodge, Iowa, was terminated by her employer, Dr. James Knight. After a decade of employment, Dr. Knight cited Nelson's attractiveness and the perceived threat it posed to his marriage as reason for her dismissal. So, this case, known as Nelson versus Knight, raised significant questions about the legality and ethics of terminating an employee based on subjective perceptions of attractiveness. So the case background I just explained to you. So now I would like to ask the lawyer for the plaintiff if you want to say something. Hi, Mead Lord. I'm the lawyer of the plaintiff, and I would like to add something. Your Honor, this case is about blatant gender discrimination disguised under the pretense of personal and moral concerns. My client, Melissa Nelson, was terminated not because of her professional competence, but because of her physical appearance, a characteristic inextricably linked to her gender. If this action is upheld, it sets a dangerous precedent that allows employers to terminate employees for arbitrary and discriminatory reasons. This is fundamentally unjust and violates the principles of workplace equality. I would like to invite the defense lawyer to say whatever he wants to say. So now the lawyer from the defense in favor of Dr. James Knight, would you like to say something? Mean Lord, I'm the lawyer from the defense, and I would like to say a few things to the honorable lawyer for the plaintiff. Your Honor, Your Honor, this case is not about gender discrimination. It is about the legitimate concerns of an employer attempting to protect his family and marriage. Dr. Knight's decision was based on personal dynamics that posed a risk to his personal life, not on Miss Nelson's gender. Under Iowa's at will employment laws, an employer has the right to terminate an employee for any lawful reason. And there is no evidence here that my client acted unlawfully or with discriminatory intent. That's all, my lord. Now, the plaintiff's lawyer, Nelson's lawyer, please go ahead. Um, with all due respect, the defense can't simply claim this was a personal dynamic without addressing the inherently discriminatory nature of the termination. If Miss Nelson were a male employee, her appearance would not have been deemed a threat to Dr. Knight's marriage. This termination was not about protecting a family, but about penalizing my client for her gender and attractiveness factors beyond her control and unrelated to her performance. That's all, my lord. Okay, the defense lawyer, would you like to say something? So, your argument assumes gender bias where none exists. Dr. Knight's decision is stemmed from the interactions between the two individuals, not from my client harboring discriminatory intent. Furthermore, Dr. Knight's wife expressed legitimate concerns and he acted in the best interest of his marriage. This was a deeply personal decision, not a workplace policy that discriminates against a protected class. So, this is what I would like to say. Yeah, plaintiff's lawyer, please go ahead. The claim for protecting a marriage doesn't absolve the employer of the obligation to treat employees equally. Miss Nelson was a professional, and her termination sends a clear message that women can be penalized for their appearance, a clear violation of workplace fairness and equality. This action undermines the very foundation of anti-discrimination laws. That's all from my side, Milord. The defense lawyer, would you like to respond? So, Your Honor, let's not confuse fairness with legality. While the situation may feel unfair to Ms. Nelson, fairness and legality are not always the same. The courts have repeatedly upheld the principles of at will employment, and there's no evidence that um, Dr. Knight acted outside the law. Moreover, Ms. Nelson was compensated with the severance package, demonstrating that this decision was made with respect and not malice. That's what I would like to say. Now, the plaintiff's lawyer, let's finish it here. Let me get your final statement. Okay, so compensation doesn't rectify the fact that this was a discriminatory act. Allowing subjective perceptions of attractiveness to justify termination creates a loophole in entire discrimination laws, enabling employers to act on personal biases without accountability. The law must protect employees from such arbitrary treatment, my lord. So this is what I can say. Now, I will request the defense lawyer to present your final statement, please. So, subjectivity is unavoidable in human interactions, and employers must be allowed some discretion in managing workplace dynamics. Dr. Knight's actions were not arbitrary, but rather preventative measures to avoid future complications. His decision may not sit well in public opinion, but it does not violate the law at it stands. Okay, me Lord, let me just simplify and finish it here, Your Honor. This case is about personal boundaries, not legal discrimination. Dr. Nye acted with his rights as an employer under Iowa law. While this situation may feel unconventional, it's not unlawful. We ask the court to affirm that no laws were broken or and dismiss the case against my client. This is what I request. Thank you. So let me conclude now, Your Honor. This case is not just about my client. It is about safeguarding workplace equality. If this court rules in favor of the defense, it opens the door to unchecked discrimination under the guise of personal or moral reasons. We urge the court to uphold the principles of justice and fairness by ruling in favor of Ms. Nelson. That's all, my lord. So let me just finalize this thing and give a final judgment. The court has carefully considered the arguments presented by both the plaintiff, Melissa Nelson, and the defendant, Dr. James Knight. This case raises important questions about the intersection of workplace rights, gender discrimination, and the scope of at-will employment laws. At the core of this dispute is whether Dr. Knight's termination of Ms. Nelson was lawful under Iowa law and whether it violated anti-discrimination protection. So the court has some findings that I would like to share with you regarding this particular case, and this is the final verdict of the court. Findings are at will employment doctrine. Under Iowa law, at will employment allows employers to terminate employees for any reason, provided it does not uh, contravene existing laws or public policies. So, in this case, there is no written contract or evidence that Ms. Nelson's employment was subject to terms that would exempt her from at will termination. Now, regarding the gender discrimination, the court would like to share the court's verdict regarding the gender discrimination allegations. Discrimination under Iowa Civil Rights Act requires proof that the termination was based on gender or protected characteristics. The defense has argued that Ms. Nelson's termination was based on subjective personal concerns and not her gender. The court acknowledges that while the decision may disproportionality wise or inappropriately affect women due to social dynamics, there is insufficient evidence that Ms. Nelson was terminated only because of her gender. So we will the court will also explain more details about three other aspects that the court observed, and those are: one is the employer's rights versus ethical concerns. Employers have the right to make personal decisions to maintain workplace harmony and address personal or professional conflicts. However, the court recognizes the ethical implications of terminating an employee based on subjective factors such as attractiveness, which may indirectly perpetuate stereotypes or biases. So, for the judgment, after reviewing the arguments and the evidence, the court finds as follows. The legal compliance. Dr. Knight's decision to terminate Ms. Nelson does not violate the Iowa civil rights law or other anti-discrimination laws as currently written. The termination was based on personal concerns rather than explicit gender discrimination. Ethical concerns. The court strongly admonishes the defendant for making an employment decision based on subjective and non-performance related factors. While not illegal, such actions undermine workplace equity and perpetuate biases that can harm employees and society at large. So, the call for legislative review is this case exposes gaps in anti-discrimination laws, particularly concerning terminations based on subjective or appearance-related factors. The court recommends legislation bodies consider reform to ensure stronger protections against arbitrary dismissals that is inappropriate affect specific groups. So the court will soon be sharing the final judgment. So the final ruling is the plaintiff's claims of unlawful gender discrimination are dismissed. The court urges the defendant to reflect on the broader implications of his actions, and recommends the implementation of workplace policies to prevent similar situation in the future. So, my closing statement as a judge is that the court acknowledges that this ruling may feel unsatisfactory to those seeking greater accountability for actions that, while lawful, are um, ethically questionable. However, it is not the role of this court to legislate, but to interpret and apply existing laws. The case of Melissa Nelson versus Dr. James Knight highlights the need for a continued social conversation about workplace fairness and the balance between employer discretion and the employee's protection. The court is over. Thanks for coming.